Afghanistan. That wasn't what this thing started out to be. What started was people started calling me wanting help. And we'd been getting friends of mine that was in the service that said, can you help our interpreter get out, which we had a lot of conversations about that. Then we started getting phone calls from people that had family members or friends that were AMSETs or Americans, American citizens, AMSETs for short, to get them out. And I said, let me make a phone call. And it came out that they needed a State Department or a government entity to sponsor their flight going in. That's the only way they could get in. And no one would sponsor their flight, even though it was designated to get these 20 Americans out. And so they called me back and said, would you be interested in sponsoring the flight? And I said, I mean, what do you mean, financially? And they said, no, a congressman can sponsor a flight going in, and it gives one of these other departments cover, because it's kind of, no one wants to touch it, because I personally believe, Brett, it was because they knew this was a hot mess. And so that's how this whole thing started.
So you don't actually get into Afghanistan to get people out?
As this thing moved forward, is they wanted, everybody kept denying them, and then they asked, would you go with us? And these are Tier 1 operators. These are Delta guys, Special Forces. These guys are legit. I'm nobody. I'm just a congressman.
Well, you're a congressman from Oklahoma. You're a businessman.
Sure.
Mixed martial arts background, but no military,
yeah,
right?
But that doesn't play well in this. I wasn't trying to go over there and be a cowboy or anything like that. It was just, what else do you do? When you see a problem, how do you say no if you can be an asset? Mm-hmm. And they believed I could be an asset. We got a humanitarian a flight plan from FAA, and everything was good to go. We left the United States. We had a time of arrival at Hakaya in Kabul. Hakaya is the airport there in Kabul. And we got there and we were on approach, and they canceled our PPR. And so we circled the airport probably for an hour, and we had 5 PPRs canceled. Every time they'd cancel, the agency that was trying to get us in would give us a new one. They actually went into the tower to say, let them land. We were on the phone with them texting. We couldn't talk. We were texting back and forth, and they kept issuing us new ones. And they would never let us in Afghanistan. And I'll tell you this, too. Unfortunately, one of our American citizens, her 2-year-old son, and I believe it was her father, to which I all have passports on, we lost contact of, because they were at the Abbey Gate. And a few hours later, the Abbey Gate blew up. And we haven't had any contact with them since, and I believe it's because they were caught up in that. And so what they did by playing politics on this, for whatever reason.
So you don't know who shut you down from landing?
I don't know I don't know who shut us down, but I think it was 100% directed from the State Department.
At some point, you go on to Tajikistan.
No, I never went to Tajikistan.
You didn't go in?
No, that is absolutely false. We did work around the region, but Tajikistan was, unfortunately, the ambassador Parmashine was not helpful at all. And a lot of misinformation was going out about that.
And for the storyline that said that you possibly interrupted some covert thing that was going on, or some operation in Tajikistan?
No, I don't have a clue what they're talking about. This is what the Ambassador Parmashine told me. He says it's very sensitive right now, Mark Wayne. It's very sensitive because Putin and the Chinese government's going to be here September 5th. It's very sensitive. I said, I get it's very sensitive. I don't need any of your assets. I don't need anything. I first of all was making you aware that we're coming in, but I also made the point. I said, but we are coming in with a large sum of cash. Why are you coming in with a large sum of cash? Sir, you do know that we got to go through 16 checkpoints just to get from Kabul to Mez. Each one of those charge someone to come through. I don't know what the requirements are. What are the requirements to bring in this cash? And he says, I can't assist you. I can't help you. Why? I was told not to. You were told not to help an American citizen. You were told by the federal government in Washington, D.C., not to help. When we're not trying to smuggle anybody over, we're trying to do a job that President Biden wouldn't do.
You know, a lot of people look at what you're trying to do as admirable. You had House Minority Leader Kevin